Realignment, Mitch. It would not be an off-season without a realignment discussion.
Unreal.
Can we make a pact, though, that barring anything seismic, we're not going to do this again until next spring?
Let's hope.
It's just annoying that these stories come. We're about to watch real games, and we have to break this down. The Big 12 and UConn have had some discussions, not necessarily imminent. However, it does feel like it's going to happen because Brett Yormark, that's one of the first things he kind of wanted when he got here was UConn. He just won't let it go. He loves the Northeast. And I don't like it, Mitch. I actually hate this. I think this is expanding for no reason. There's no additive, to use a Brett Yormark term. There's nothing additive about this. This is subtractive. It just feels like a personal preference here from Brett Yormark rather than an actual opportunity to enhance the conference. Look, I know UConn, basketball, men's and women's is good. They're back-to-back NCAA champions. I get that. It's just, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's like sort of close to West Virginia and Cincinnati, but like kind of not. And I just don't see how that adds anything. Because even with the back-to-back championships, you don't consider UConn as being a great athletic institution. And that's the problem. If you're going to do any expanding after this, it's got to be the ACC. I mean, I'd rather have Wazoo than UConn, Mitch. I don't like it at all.
The only positive that I see potentially with this, well, one, the basketball would be dynamite. It'd just be even better. I mean, can you imagine, UConn and the Marriott Center? We're already going to see Arizona and Kansas this winter. UConn in future years. I mean, gosh, that's just amazing, the thought of that. The only positive I see with this type of move is you double down on the basketball conference. And if you have the best basketball conference in America in a sport where that postseason tournament with basketball still makes billions for college sports, that sport, men's basketball, has a key stakeholder in the grand scheme of college athletics and maybe the future of what football becomes. Because they say that, if you're going to talk about power conferences, okay, SEC, Big Ten, yes, they've got the biggest brands. I get that. I understand. No one's arguing that in the football side. But if you want to spin off and do something, well, you got to kind of include the Big 12 because they could then return the favor and say, you know what? We don't want you in our basketball tournament. So it's almost just like it strengthens your league in the sense that basketball gets doubled down and it doesn't become a debate. You are the best basketball league, hands down, without question. No gaming the system.
They're already there, though.
But there's still this argument that they game the system. Look, I disagree with that narrative because I don't care who you are. You still got to go beat a team by 50 potentially. That's a net 300 team. Like, not everyone can just do that. Look, the metrics, yes, they show the Big 12 is the best, but the on-court product last year in March did not bear that out. So I just think with having UConn, it makes the basketball hands down, head and shoulders better than everyone. And look, SEC, Big Ten, you want to do your thing with football, maybe? No, well, that could be done to you on basketball because the Big 12 is the power broker in hoops. And I just think that's the only positive. Football-wise, I do like the reported piece of they wouldn't join in football until 2031 if a checklist is met of certain tasks of commitment, financial resources, commitments, things like that. But still, it's Yormark. It screams Yormark just badly wants New York. Yep. And UConn is Storrs, Connecticut is 3 hours, I believe, northeast of New York. He has said before when they went to the Rucker Park event where Mark Pope, the former BYU head coach, was at, they want New York. They want to be part of New York. It's an important market to him. He wants this to be national from Vegas to New York where they use these different cities and it's promoting the Big 12 brand. He had his first month on the job. He had a media blitz with New York media. He's trying to get the Big 12 brand in New York, and UConn gives him a little bit of presence to that. UConn women's basketball too is huge too, and that kept
New
me
York
forgotten,
is
too.
not a college town, man.
It's not, and
it doesn't matter if it's UConn or Syracuse or whoever.
But do you then maybe have the chance to get the Big 12 basketball tournament one day in Madison Square Garden? I don't like that idea. I mean,
I hate that idea.
The Garden would be cool, but is that
Garden
the
would
move?
be cool, but it would be insanely inconvenient for all the fans.
I agreed. I'm spitballing here.
I'd rather go back to Vegas over the Garden.
I loved Kansas City personally. I thought that was awesome because those people love college hoops. But I mean, Yormark, this is the one move where it just feels, like it just falls a little flat. I'd be fascinated to see.
It doesn't make sense. It's not even that it falls flat. It just doesn't make sense. You could argue till you're blue in the face on whether or not Colorado and Utah, and that was good for the Big 12.
Yeah, it was a great move for the Big 12.
But that clearly added value. That's the thing. I didn't love it. There's parts of it that I don't love. Like, I really liked Colorado. I could have done without the other three.
I like UConn basketball, though. Like, that is enticing. For the last 25 years, they are the best basketball program. They've won 6 titles.
Yeah.
They've won with 3 different head coaches, Calhoun, Kevin Ollie, and Hurley. Like, UConn is huge.
I'd be a lot more interested in this if it was UConn and Gonzaga hoops only join us.
Interesting.
Then I'm on board.
See, I want no part of Gonzaga. None of that.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't want anything with Gonzaga because I don't know what they will be after few.
Fair.
And
That's fair.
UConn, they've done it for a long time, even in the late 70s when they joined the Big East. Like, UConn basketball has always been
Doesn't
good.
it feel, though, like if you're going to get UConn, then you got to get to 20, and you have to get some upper-tier ACC to even balance out the football side of things? Like, I feel like you would need a Virginia Tech and I don't know.
The only positive on
Miami.
football, the only positive on football is you do need some seller. Like, I wouldn't mind a UConn on BYU schedule this year.
Good point.
I mean, if the seller is Arizona State, that's the seller in football. You need someone who's just if Kansas isn't going to be that anymore, you need someone who's going to be the punching bag. It's okay for the SEC to have a seller. It's okay for the Big Ten to have a seller with Indiana, Purdue, Vanderbilt. Why can't the Big 12?
Texter 1138, big no to UConn, Mitch. But I'd love to get Oregon State and Wazoo.
See,
2 nice drives for Cougar fans.
Oregon State and Wazoo, no thanks. I'm more interested in UConn than those two. And I'm
not with you. I'm with 1138.
See, Oregon State and Wazoo bring nothing.
They bring you that West Coast.
They bring you nothing. UConn basketball is huge, and women's basketball is growing. That's a big women's basketball brand. That's huge. Like, that's the type of game where BYU fans would show up to that and support Amber Whiting and that team to see them play UConn.
Yeah, that's
fair. That's a big brand. All right, we got to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk some BYU basketball, the NIL war chest, and also some Cougar Tales.